Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Stickers and Scuffs podcast. Cam Graydon, and the Wheelman Wally Wilson pinch hitting today because we had a cancellation and we got to get this guy on here. I don't know what happened the last time Wally was invited to come on. I'm not sure what happened there. Do you remember that, Wally?
I think we had some issue with the race car or something, maybe. I was stuck working on that. I don't know. I can't remember.
Either way, he ditched us. That's what happened last time, everybody. Strike X. So Wally, we're glad to have you on the show. Clearly, you're sporting the Colton Everingham number today just because he's a great teammate of yours. But oh no, it's Jimmy Johnson. Okay. Anyways, Wally,
that's a great shirt.
So much. Well, we're glad to have you on, Wally. Let's talk about it, man. We're gonna start off with the legendary name. I'm not gonna lie, man. When we heard that Wally Wilson name, we hadn't met you, we hadn't heard of you, but as soon as we heard it, it was like that's a racing name right there. You had to be a racer.
Yeah, it's pretty good, I guess.
It sounds like a superhero name, like the alliterate, like immediately I think of like Wally West, like Kid Flash if you're a DC guy like I am, or Wade Wilson, Deadpool if you're a Marvel guy. That's it's a badass name, man. It's a good handle for a racer for sure.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. I feel now that we kind of have been talking about this, we do need to get somebody to make a comic because you've got the nickname, you've got Wheelman. So yeah. I mean, that sounds like a superhero name right there. So somebody's got to get out there. We got to get somebody that's an artist to create that. But Wally, let's start off with how did you get into racing?
I started go-karting when I was about 6 or 7, and then just kept moving up from there. Like my dad used to race at Salvo back in like the 90s before I was born, so he was always kind of like around it. And then I was just always watching NASCAR and all that, and then just kept racing, I guess.
So who was the first driver that you remember?
That I remember?
Yep. First driver that you saw on TV.
On TV? Jeff Gordon, I think.
Man, that seems to be a popular one with those 90s kids. So Jeff Gordon, what was it about the racing that got you interested?
I guess just watching like the speed and like obviously the good close racing, and obviously as a little kid you want to watch cars get destroyed, so you always want to see that, but at the same time like you don't want to see anyone get hurt.
So Wally, how old of a guy are you now then?
23.
So at the ripe old age of 23, can you I got to put you on the spot here, just rapid fire, what disciplines, what types of race cars have you run in your young years?
Go-karts, midgets. I ran the pro midgets, which is pretty well the same, just with suspension. Mm-hmm. I ran modifieds and pro late, and then I did one mini stock race, but it wasn't really anything special.
So that's kind of leads to another part of the question. Where does that motivation to run, like, and you're not always just doing one thing at a time, like you're running multiple disciplines at a time. Where does that motivation to do so much come from?
Honestly, we just keep buying cars and it's just something to do. Just you go into a weekend and you're like, oh, I could race this car, I could race that car, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I could bring both cars. I don't know.
So when you this is the thing that's very fascinating. There's a lot of people out there that are big race fans, but the process from becoming from a fan to being an actual driver, did you make that decision by yourself? Was it a family decision? Did you just find a car randomly one day? Like, how did that process happen?
Oh, well, I think one year for Christmas, my dad signed us up for go-kart, like me and my sister up for go-karts. And then basically it just kind of went from there. I kept going with it. I went from the go-karts to the midget, and then it just it's progressed from there.
Nice.
And in terms of the progression, how was the go-kart experience when you first got in there? And B, did you want to go right up to stock cars right away? Or did you kind of have to take a step back and go, oh, we can't really do that?
Oh, well, like when I was go-karts, I seemed to like I did arrive and drive. So like I didn't have my own cart or anything. It was just show up and drive. I seemed to do pretty good at that. And then we were talking about it. We were kind of like looking into stuff. We were looking at the TQ midgets. We were looking into the outlaw midgets. We were looking into mini stock, like all that kind of stuff. And seemed like the best option was the midget because it was pretty much a go-kart, right? So, and then after doing a bunch of years in those and I was successful, we ended up buying the modified, and it's been hit or miss. Some races go well, some races don't, but now we got the pro late. So
Yeah.
And that's obviously one of the things that the reason we want to get you on, well, is because you're kind of the everyman. You really will wheel anything if you're allowed to. And in Ontario, obviously, we have somewhat of a ladder system. There's a lot of different avenues that you can go. What was it that drew you to modifieds? Was it that it was available and you just you took whatever you could get?
Well, we've always watched like the tour modifieds on TV. We've always watched like the Oscar modifieds, like, and they've always just been one of my favorite race cars. So it was just kind of like we found one for sale that wasn't overpriced or anything, picked it up and just kind of stuck with it since.
I'm not sure if I can ask this depending on who's listening, but do you have like of all the types of things that you run, do you have a favorite discipline or at least one that you maybe think suits you best? Or just, is it just that running all these different things just keeps you that well-rounded?
I'd probably say like the modified the best just because it's probably one of the cooler cars you'll see. And then, just like I really like the midget. I really like the pro late, but there's just something about modifieds.
The horsepower and the the visual appeal of them. They're just such a badass looking rig.
Exactly.
Well, do you have, obviously you and Colton, I think you guys have run as a team in the modifieds and had some really good runs actually this year. So in terms of the field there, very competitive, but who would you say that is the class of that field that you have to beat? And you can't say Andy Camrath because clearly Andy Camrath is in another dimension with how he runs that 89. Every race I saw him in, as you see my cat's butt now on the screen there. Thank you, Nala. You see this hovering tail right here. It just gets better and better, doesn't it, Graydon? Man, she'll do anything for attention. So you can't say Andy Camrath because, again, like I said, he's always way out in front. Every time I've seen the modifieds race, he's cleaning up. So you got to pick somebody else. Who is it that's up there? That's somebody that you have to beat.
I assume you mean like full-time guys, right?
Absolutely.
There's quite a few actually. Like you have Dale Reinhardt's usually up front. You have TJ Edwards, who's just ever since he got in the series, he's been up front, unless he has an issue, but he's very rare. Like there's a lot of guys. Pretty well the whole field's just close.
And that's what's so awesome about the Ontario racing scene. I think what a lot of people get, and we've focused mainly on the NASCAR Penny Series on this podcast, but because we have an off season, availability is not always the easiest thing to get. And we want to showcase some of the younger names in Ontario racing, some of the names that we want to see eventually move up the ladder. The competition level seems across that in midgets, in the prolates, in modifieds, that it is like there's so many different people who could win week in and week out. Is that what you're experiencing?
Yeah, like you go in the midgets, there's like pretty well the whole field anybody can win. It just takes, you just have to be lucky, really. And then modified, same thing. You go in there, there's at least 10 cars that can win the race every weekend. And then obviously the pro late, everyone's within a couple tenths, and you just know that you make one mistake and you're going to the back.
That's the thing. Like all these series that you're running in, everybody's super hungry, and like you said, the competition level is super tight. Everybody's under a blanket. Keeping a positive mental attitude. I mean, you're kind of going to school every time out there watching these guys too, right? That are running perfect lines and however they set their cars up and whatnot. How do you keep racing fun?
See, that's the thing. Like we'll run an APC race, and obviously you run like pretty well the top guys in Ontario, if not Canada. And like, obviously that's really frustrating. And then run a modified and pretty well same thing. Like you can have a decent run, but with me, like that's why we still run the midget. Like it's fun. We go to the racetrack. Like we don't really, it's not as stressful. You don't have as many eyes on you, I guess would be the best way to put it. And it's just like with our midget, we do a little bit, but it's like basically a couple days before we start working on it, and then bring it to the track and just don't really do as much. We're like, you're on the pro late or the modified, you're at the track, you're making adjustments, you're making changes. Like, I don't know, keeps it fun, I guess.
Yeah, I would say like that's the thing I was talking, like as we're talking about this ladder system, as you're trying to develop your career, you still got to do those things that keeps a smile on your face and doesn't make it all just business all the time.
Yep, exactly. Like you look at even like Kyle Larson or Kyle Busch, they go back, like Larson goes back and runs midgets, and Kyle Busch will go run a super late. Like it's the same kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I think like just talking about that, I think I had that kind of that aha thing right there. It was just like, I see the beauty in it. For like, it doesn't matter where you are on that ladder, you kind of still want to do that regardless, just because it's probably good for your self-confidence, but it's also just fun, if nothing else.
Yeah, exactly. It's like obviously racing's not really like, it's not a job, right? Like you're out there to just go have fun. Like obviously take it serious, but you're not making money out of it, basically.
It's been the common theme that we hear about racing is you're not making money. But that's a great segue into one of the things that we are really passionate about, and that's helping find sponsors for people. I don't think people really realize until they've actually discussed with drivers and team members the expenses that go into a race weekend. Now, obviously, we've talked with guys up in the Pinty series and the Xfinity series about how expensive their stuff is. For a team in the midgets, in the modifieds, what's your process in trying to find sponsorship?
Basically, like when you're at the like lower levels, like not saying they're low levels, but compared to the Pinty series and Xfinity series, you're just kind of like every little bit helps, really. Like you can take $100, you can take $1,000, you can take $10,000, right? Like it's all about basically who wants to help and what they want out of it, how big they want the sticker on the car, what, like if they want appearances, all that kind of thing, right?
Every dollar goes to good use.
It's
exactly.
Yeah. So in that case, is it still your crew? Let's just say the crew. Volunteer, family, what is it that you go about to get people to come and help you?
It's a bit of like, we have like my one crew chief, he's gone and helped like IMSA teams, NASCAR teams, all that stuff. So he's definitely, it's nice to have him around. Like he's been a good friend of mine for years, so he's always willing to come help. And then you get guys like just people that you meet in racing and they want to come help, and that's always good. And then that's about it so far.
So what you're saying is that Graydon has a shot at being a tire changer, right?
I always do this. There's people, if you ever need a hand doing stuff, I am fit. I'm 40, but I'm A young 40.
I'll keep that in mind.
This guy over here. How many injuries have you had this year, Graydon?
Oh, I've had a few injuries.
Yeah. We yeah. But this is what you're saying is that people that don't know that they can get involved in racing. I think a lot of people are like ourselves. Even we had no idea that there was an interest in having a podcast, and people would want to come on the podcast, which is shocking to talk with us, these two schmucks here. But it's something that's very difficult. But when you're going about trying to get a sponsorship, are you actively cold calling? Are you going and trying to meet people, or is it just more or less, if you want to come and be a part of this, come and be a part of it? I see a lot of social media stuff for race teams and yourself included. What's kind of the strategy?
It's a bit of everything, honestly. Like if someone wants to come to you and sponsor you, you're not going to turn it down, obviously, but you try and meet with people, you try and call people, email, like all that stuff. You just pretty well just never stop. You just keep going to different companies, different people, everything.
Well, you have a couple of longtime partners that have been with you. We obviously want to make sure that you get an opportunity to talk about them. And because they've been across, I think, all three or four types of cars that you've driven.
Yep. We got the fireplace and patio shop, which is obviously my parents' business. So it's I've got to be on the car, basically. Then we got Have1.com, who supplies us with our decals and everything. They've been with me since 2016, I think, around there. So It's been a long time. And then Larry's Small Engine Repair, which will help us with the midget and stuff. Got Mr. Transmission of Own Sound this year. We had Napoleon come on for a few races. Nice. And I think that's all, maybe. Yeah. I might be forgetting one.
I've got the car on the screen here. So.
I got the ones you can see at least.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
The ones that you can see for sure. Rapid fire in a way. Tracks across Ontario. If you had a choice that you haven't been to, which track are you going to race, Wally?
Oh, that I haven't been to?
You have not been to.
I want to say probably CTMP or the old oval they used to have there. I never got to be there. And then probably Barrie Speedway as well.
Oh yeah.
Those are some good. It's funny you pick his old stomping ground, my old stomping ground, Mosport Oval and Barrie Speedway.
And Barrie, yeah.
Then you got to go, man. If we're talking the tour, what wheel and modified track do you want to go and race at?
Oh, definitely Stafford. Stafford.
Yeah.
Stafford or New Smyrna.
Oh my God, man. Those, I mean, we had Justin Bonsley I would think it was like right in the first couple of months, I think, that we did the podcast grade.
Yeah. I remember that.
He really opened our eyes to the modifieds and is such a good champion for those series. And
yeah,
I mean, from the races that we've been able to catch, the modifieds in Ontario are no different. There's such fantastic racing in the Oscar series. And if we're going to look towards the future here, Wally, where do you see yourself?
I'd love to be obviously a cup driver, but chances of that are pretty slim because it's a lot of money to get there.
Mm-hmm.
But I see myself hopefully one day being in the tour, running with all those guys. But yeah, so we'll try and make it happen. Maybe do some races in the States with the modified we have now, or we'll see how things go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, guys, it's good to have people that have that ambition, that want to go and say, you know what, cups maybe not realistic for me, but you know what, I could really go out there and race with some of those guys. Because again, when we talked, I think, and Graydon, I think you probably agree with this, Justin very much came off like a Pinty's driver in a way. Like
Yep.
very much like this is our equipment. We have to go out. We have to get the
Yeah.
sponsors.
It's
And
grassroots for sure.
it's grassroots, and it's not bad. And I think people sleep on a lot of racing across the world. I think a lot of people got to see, and I will credit GeForce TV for being able to catch the Oscar modified races, the Oscar hot rods, a lot of racing that we maybe wouldn't have been able to catch many years ago. And of course, with COVID, we weren't able to see much of it. But you know that you've got supporters here. We absolutely love our grassroots racing, and let's get your social medias out there in case people would like to follow you, and or maybe there's a sponsor out there.
Yeah. So it'd be Wally Wilson Racing on Facebook, Wally Wilson 69 on Instagram, I think. And I think also the same on Twitter.
Excellent. Graydon, what do you have to say to Mr. Wally Wilson?
Oh man, it's like we were saying, we weren't able to put a face to the name when we heard it, but it's awesome that we saw you at the races, and I don't know if we necessarily knew it or not, but I think it was Flamboro you were at, right?
I think
Delaware.
Or Delaware.
Was when we saw each other. We
That's
didn't
right.
recognize each other and just kind of carried on. It was Delaware.
Yeah.
Delaware, you guys were sitting behind us, and I'm like, I swear to God, I swear that's Wally, and I think you were with Connor Ross, and who else were you with?
I think I was with Carson too.
And with Carson.
Yeah.
I'm like, I swear that was them, right? And it was only after you guys got up and left. And we're like, oh, those were the guys that were behind us. Oh, okay.
At any rate, Wally, it's good to meet you, whether it's not necessarily face to face physically, but it won't be the last time we see you. So have a good off season, and we'll talk again, man.
Yep. Thank you for having me on, guys.
Yeah, we definitely
problem.
want to thank Wally Wilson for coming on the Stickers and Scuffs podcast. Thank you guys all for checking us out. We'll catch you all next week.